The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? Email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comics Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
I messaged Steve. Did he see it?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sketchy Saturday.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to Sketchy Saturday, the show that brings you, well, sketchers, right? Although I was pointed out today that I'm the only one not drawing traditionally, so you'll have to deal with that prejudice. I'm C. Michael Lanning, independent graphic translator, worked for Haslam Productions, Arrow Comics, and some other things coming up here and there. Today you will see I will be working on a fish. That's right, a fish from the upcoming book I have out coming with Chad Perkins from Shots with Comics, Set the Hook. And of course, let's do the rounds and see who's here. Mike.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey everyone, I'm Mike J. Bruin, CEO of Resonance and creator of Lava Cora, and today I am working on the cover for the 24-hour challenge comic that I did last week with my girlfriend. So yeah, I'm thumbnailing, and from there I'm just gonna be starting to sketch properly and do the whole thing. And off to the next guy. That over there. There.
That's Marv.
That's MarV.
MarV.
That's me. Okay. Sorry, I can barely hear you. Hi, everyone. I'm MarV. I'm creator of The Sim Killer. And I'm working right now with Resonance and Arrow Comics 4.0. And today I'm going to ink the last page of my first chapter of the Sim Killer saga, my Gabriel Reaper of Souls. And yeah, it's going to be for sale soon, along with all the pages on Fund My Comic, the new platform that will be for gaming and comics. So let's have some fun, guys.
And I'll since I'm on the top left square, I'm John Celestri. I am a classical 2D animator and comic book artist from way back when even before you were a twinkle in your daddy's eye. I'm working. I worked on many feature films and TV shows, like and am now working on my own comic book Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, and I'm working on a panel here for book 4 in the series. That'll be coming pretty soon. That's what I'm doing.
Sweet.
Nice.
Hey, everybody. I am Rodney Fyke. I am an artist, writer, do a little bit of everything. I've been doing independent comics for the better part of 30 years. Working with Hasm Productions. You can go check out all of our books at hasm.com. That's HAZZUM.com for all of our books. And also be sure to go to Kickstarter, Doghouse, the Doghouse Kickstarter, and smash that notify button on launch. We'll be launching the Doghouse Kickstarter on February 21st. And that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on my variant cover for issue 1 of Doghouse.
Awesome.
And see. He's
Golly,
probably still looking for his reference books.
I found them. Found them.
All right.
They were in my bucket down here. I have a bucket that's got some books in it, and it's not as bad as it sounds. It's a wooden bucket, so don't think I'm putting it in just some random bucket. But yeah, they were hiding in there. I picked them out. We're good. We're good. We got some talent in the chat. Allison's with us. Morning, Allison.
Hey.
Says, hey, everyone.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for playing my trailer. That was, of course, the producer who's behind the scenes. She who shall not be named. Efrain's here. Hello, Efrain. Mark.
Hey.
Hey, Efrain.
Oh. Efrain does say hi to you, Rodney.
I do. I see that. Hello, Efrain.
Ted Davies is here. She says, good day, superheroes. I don't know about that. Some of us might be some super villains. Anyway, Ed Fazrico is here. Hey, Fazrico, morning. So,
Saturdays.
here we go. I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oops.
And this is consistent with people who ask questions about what you think of their art or whatever the case is. And the question is this: we say the saying is art is subjective, but I'm gonna narrow this down because let's face it, not all art is the same. So is comic book art subjective?
Mhm.
Whoa. What do you mean by art?
Yeah.
I mean, we are
Yeah.
we are producing material, but art is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, I could
Well,
say,
no, that's not. But that I disagree with that. Art is not
You
in
do?
the eye of the beholder. Beauty is.
well,
So-
beautiful art is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well, there's craft and there's art. What's the difference? I mean, in comic book work, what we have is craft. And the craft is being able to communicate with the reader what you want to do. The art is being able to say something with that.
Yeah.
Just beyond than it just being a graphic representation of words that have been put down on paper. Wow, that's highfalutin talk.
No, but it's true, right? I mean, there's a reason why you have comic book art, and it can't just be subjective because it won't convey what it's supposed to, or
Right.
or what the creator's meaning for it to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chad says he likes to use bananas and duct tape as comic art tools. And I guess,
I mean, there's no wrong way to do it, but you might want to reconsider the longevity of your comics if you try that. Also, I feel sorry for your scanner.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you can use them as inking tools, maybe dip the banana in some ink. It just
There
kinda
you go.
spread around.
Yeah.
I heard.
I have questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody has questions.
I would rather
Yeah,
not.
right?
Oh boy.
Of course, Indie Comics Network says, correction, there's craft and art. So- yeah, and Fazrico says, I've seen comics made with photos of real people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
not but each one of those still have to convey the story.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
when you deal with art, okay, maybe art is subjective, but is storytelling subjective?
Only if it. Well, no, it. I get confused sometimes as to how, when somebody is trying to tell a story, and if it's not done in the proper order that I'm used to, then I find it difficult to understand what they're saying.
Right.
And that's craft, because
Yeah.
a craft is something that it looks pleasing, but is useful and has a purpose, and is like, woodworking. Is a craft. Creating a table. Okay, but then when you're whittling, you're creating an impression from your mind onto that piece of wood, and you might be saying something with it.
Right.
So I think there's always something where you have to be saying something with the art by itself.
I think
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
good example of that is when Bill Sienkiewicz really blew up in the comic industry in the 80s. He started on Moon Knight and he was doing traditional art. And then he went on to the New Mutants and really started coming into his own. And he was using all of this imagery and all these geometrical shapes and stuff in his artwork. And people were like, what the hell is this? And did the same thing on Elektra. And a lot of people hated it because they didn't understand it. So he was doing what you're supposed to do, but he was doing it in his way.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's as individual as the person,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
to harken back to what John said, regardless of how you do it, how you execute it, it still has to convey the story. And if it doesn't do that, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
If your flair and your style get too much in the way of telling the story, you're doing a disservice to the readers.
Yes. It's funny. I'm actually often in discussion with my girlfriend about this because she calls me an artist. Well, okay, no, she calls me the Dutch equivalent of a high artist, and I'm I don't consider myself someone who makes high art. I make practical art. Therefore, I draw. I'm literally translated. I'm a drawer. Thing that opens and closes. But
Well, you could be a high artist, depending on what you're smoking while you're drawing.
well, that's true. But generally, I actually want to get things done rather than have one piece that nobody understands.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She comes from a world where art as a whole is the creation of something. Where, let's be honest here, we're not high artists. We don't create high art. We don't duct tape a banana to a wall and make millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the very simple reason.
Good.
No, it's a very simple reason. We want something that people remember. We want something that matters to the everyday man. We want something that when people pick up what we did, it will have value to them personally. Where high art, the only reason high art exists is to be valuable to a select number of people to only avoid paying taxes, essentially.
Well
Hey.
said.
Okay.
Legitimately, the only reason that high art is high art is because if you donate something to a museum and you give it that value, then that piece of art now has that value. I have this expensive painting. I'm going to donate to the Smithsonian worth $10 million. And what do you know? I had to pay $10 million in taxes this year.
Oh,
And that is a donation, so I can write it off.
yeah.
That is literally why high art exists. That being
They're
said,
smart.
there is high. Yeah, but keep in mind, okay, keep in mind, guys, that this is a new thing. This has been something that is only 100 years old. So before that, any older paintings, anything that you would see in a museum over 100, 150 years old, you know, paintings of people, paintings of all kinds of things, they were usually commissions. If you have a portrait of someone, it was a commission. The artist got paid a lot to get this thing created. But nowadays, high art, hell no, it's a scam. It's a pyramid scheme.
Oh no!
Literally.
He said it. He said it.
He said it.
Yeah, I did.
He's right.
And it's not even NFTs. You're welcome.
Ah,
Yeah.
the original NFTs, right? I saw somebody said something the other day.
I'm giving so many hot takes. I'm not even sorry.
I saw something the other day that said if Andy Warhol was alive today, he'd be an AI artist.
Oh, boy. Well, there you go. There's my stance on it.
All right.
I'm not an artist. I am a graphic designer. I am someone who makes practical art. I make something that is useful, that is needed for some specific reason. Nothing else. I'm a means to an end. Done.
It's interesting. I look at it from the point of view what I'm doing is acting.
Yeah.
And this is to me. I mean, the comic book. I mean, what I'm doing right now is the equivalent of posing for animation, which is acting with your pencil, basically. And you've got subtleties. You've got there are those who can do subtle animation. There's slapstick animation. Yeah. There's all kinds of things, but you have to. There's a craft to it, but what you say with your craft, then that's when you start transcending art, because you have to have an idea that is more than just a graphic representation. It makes you think. And sometimes, like when you have a book that makes you think, because it makes you question something, that is not craft, that is art, because that draws that makes the viewer, the reader, have to work, and it sparks something else inside them other than adrenaline, an adrenaline rush. So I think when taking the craft of drawing and writing, I think that's really what. And I know this is because we are doing independent comics. Okay, take the advantage of being able to not be censored in your ideas, and create something that will draw people in, because they want to hear more about what you're saying, and it sparks something for them. Anyway, that's art to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. Yeah.
It comes like the same idea of, oh, that's my style. How many times have you heard that from certain people?
Yeah,
too many. And the funny thing that I like about that, people going, that is my style, is that it's always from people that are under 30. Have you noticed? It's always people under 30. Always.
I haven't heard that, but I know some people who think that they're something, but they're over 30.
Yeah. I think when someone says it's my style, there's a difference. It's when somebody is being accused of not being very clear in what they're trying to say, and they say, "Well, that's my style." Like like there's a deficiency on the viewer's part that you don't understand what they're saying. I think though, when you do develop a style, but you have to be able to be clear in what you're trying to say. Anyway, yeah.
No, I agree. Like often it's someone's art being criticized, and their direct reaction is to excuse themselves. In I didn't feel like learning this thing, therefore I'm calling it a personal twist.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't put in the effort.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mike, Jimmy, you are not an old guy, so therefore,
I am under 30.
Shouting
I have used this excuse.
You're not yelling at clouds.
No. I'm not. I'm not even 30. I am turning 30 this year in August, and I think it's even a Saturday. So be warned, guys. Be warned.
August what?
25th.
Oh, really? Oh, 21st.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I'm not turning 30 though. I won't see 30 again.
Look, if your eldest daughter is 17 when she made the Lava Cora variant, I would be surprised if you're turning 30. I would have questions. Yeah, right. A lot of them. Or
I am from Louisiana.
You have a cougar. I mean, or you have a cougar.
I'm in Louisiana, so there's.
I am not sorry, Nita. I am not sorry.
He actually has a friend who's a great grandmother now that is not much older than her. Yeah, it's.
Oh boy.
No, you, Mike, Jimmy, you have to understand the South. I'm in Kentucky.
I know it makes her a slut. I'm not saying. Wait, I mean, go. like you're the one that said it.
Oh, great, Mike! Now you got him in trouble.
But y'all could hear her. I mean, it's the same thing as getting the tongue. So, that's a dispatch.
I'm not sorry, C. I'm also not sorry, Nita.
No, but that's the thing. Yeah. So, but about now I forget. But yeah, she actually turns 18. My daughter turns 18 at August 10th. So
wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. We're gonna have to have a huge party. Well, I mean, Allison is in there as well, so like we've got a.
Oh wow! Yeah.
There's something wrong with August. It creates autistic people. It must be banished. No more birthdays in August.
It's competition.
So C, is Jaden graduating from high school this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. I think I made a decision. Yeah.
But the question came in because I saw somebody say something the other day. You always get these guys, these folks, that they'll put their stuff up to be reviewed, and then when it's reviewed, they have a million excuses on why it's the way it is. And it's like, well, if you're not conveying that, then there's obviously something wrong here.
Yeah. because that is the problem. Like a lot of what you forget as a creator is that if you have something in mind and you don't know how to create that, that is fine. Like you can teach yourself that, but don't excuse your inability to visualize something as being a personal part of your journey and your literal muscle memory just because you didn't feel like teaching yourself something.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are a million things I don't know how to draw. Don't ask me to draw a car. I'm going to drop a 3D model in Clip Studio Paint and I'm going to trace it, and here's your car. I don't care. I don't know how to draw a car. That doesn't mean that it's my style. Bugger off. It's not a style.
No, don't feel
It's
bad.
lazy. That's what
I
it
have
is.
a day. I have a day put aside that I learned how to draw cars, or try to learn how to draw cars.
I
I love how you corrected yourself to try.
yeah. I dislike drawing cars very much. And this is a guy who wound up drawing Turbo Teen.
Oh, jeez.
Do any of you remember Turbo Teen?
Very vaguely.
It's about a teenager who transforms into
A car, sports car.
Corvette.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah. That's I worked on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, I always the running joke was when he transforms, where's his stick shift coming from?
Boy,
It was something
Do I
weird
have a
about
story for
the
you?
cartoon, right?
Pardon?
The transformation, he had to. Water had something to do about his transformation, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, well, he transforms into a car. I mean, everything. You know, it's kind of.
He was a human transformer.
He was that was before Transformers. This is
Oh,
19.
yeah.
What is it? 1984.
Yeah.
84. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was 1984 that I worked on that. That was a summer. Terrible. I hated it.
It didn't last.
I know
long.
that some people have fond memories of it, but I don't.
I'm looking at it here. It's yeah, it's what it is. Like the very picture that they have of it is, you know, what is that is that a Ferrari or what did he turn into?
I have no idea. I mean, it kind of was all over the place. I mean,
I like Allison says that show was terrible and amazing.
well, yeah, I know. It really bummed the heck out of me. I just didn't like it. I mean, I had problems. It made but it was work. See, there's craft.
Yep.
You know, that's the thing. And I'll say this here: a professional is someone who could work on something they hate and still manage to, you know, be worthwhile to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like me having to
that's
draw
the thing.
a Team America. I hate motorcycles. I hate drawing motorcycles.
Like looking at it, it's good art. I mean, it's you know the standard from 1980s.
Yeah.
So there was work put into it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a well thought out IP.
Yeah, I just don't know where it came from, but it was Ruby Spears, and Ruby and Spears, and they were doing work like, and after that, I wound up working on the Dragon's Lair TV show.
Oh,
there
cool.
you go.
Huh.
You know, it was because that's what I was hired to work on, because I had just been working on Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, and Bluth had gone into bankruptcy, and the studio folded, and we needed work, and So I went. I got picked up by Ruby and Spears to be able to work on that on the Dragon Slayer show. But they, for some reason, they put me onto Turbo Team. Figure that. And then I wound up working on the Dragon's Lair show afterwards.
Like, that's the thing. It's a job. You do it.
Yeah. But I tell you one thing. That was the first time I saw Jack Kirby.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, he was working. He was picking up a work and doing storyboards or whatever it was at Ruby and Spears, and this little guy with a beret walked into the room, into the foyer, and I happened to be standing there, and there was this big guy carrying his briefcase for him, and he just kind of shuffled over, and I thought, wait a minute, that's Jack Kirby, and that was it. That was it.
Did you talk to him or?
Pardon? No.
Did you talk to him? No.
No. It's kind of like, it's like, bumping into somebody who's, one of the gods from Mount Olympus. You don't say anything unless they say something to you.
yeah.
Oh, you hear that, Glenn? Huh?
Yeah.
Glenn's in the chat. So. That'd be something if he left right before you told that story.
Well, he can always he can, if he hears about it, then he'll he can always replay it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like back then, you still bumped into some of the Mount Olympus gods. Like I kind of bumped into Art Babbitt. Now that at the Dick Williams studio. And also at Duck Soup Productions. Art Babbitt is one of the grandmasters of animation before the 9 Old Men of Disney. I mean, Art Babbitt created Goofy.
Yes.
Art Babbitt did this.
Okay.
He did the Queen, the Wicked Queen in Snow White. He did Geppetto. He did the dance of the with the mushroom dance in the Fantasia.
And didn't he also punch Disney? I'm just
Almost, yeah. That's right. He was the firebrand of the animation union that formed up. So, yeah.
Huh. And now you don't know about him because he was the firebrand of the union.
Yeah.
Well, there's a story. The story goes, they were protesting outside, and if you ever heard the speech that Disney gave to these guys before they went and signed up for the union, he basically told them, if you got a problem, then you need to get your own house in order, and. That pissed them off. They weren't even thinking about joining the union before that. They went and joined that union, and there was one part.
Wow.
The story goes, Art Babbitt saw Disney coming through when they were protesting, coming to work that morning. He jumped up there and grabbed the bullhorn and said, "Oh, look, there goes the great Walt Disney!" And he just kind of spews out all this stuff at him, and Disney gets out of his car, and they both have to go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Juking it out.
Well, but again, you've got
a story.
The big. I'm sorry, I stepped on your dialogue there, Mike Jimmy. What did I say?
No. Go ahead.
The thing is, the way I understand it is that the sense of outrage was that there's such a pay disparity at Disney's because there was no rhyme or reason why somebody got paid sometime. And like some, the animators were making about, the top animators were about making $300 a week. And if you are talking about depression time, that was a load of money.
Yeah.
But yet, a lot of the assistants and painters, they were making what, $18 a week? $20 a week? You know, I mean, now understand back in those days, back in like say the late 30s and maybe the early 40s, the average salary may have been about about $1,800 a year.
Yeah,
That,
I mean, it's relative.
yeah, it's very relative. But once again, this was a highly talented group of people at Disney's, and they just weren't making much money at all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's one of the animators, and I can't remember who it was, because he would help. He was one of the lead animators.
Yeah.
And the reason I know this stuff is because I had researched it for a show, and I ended up getting sick and didn't have the show.
Oh.
But he was talking about how you had certain things if you were a lead animator, like you had a rug in your office, you had nice chairs, you had all that stuff.
Right.
And if you were in betweener, you were kind of looked down on. You know, you weren't.
Yeah.
Which I know, you know. So,
yeah, I know. I mean, I wasn't in between. That's how you broke in. Well, it was the first rung in the arting in the drawing animation ladder.
Yeah. And he was trying to help some in-betweeners, catch up on work and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was doing stuff there. Well, it got up to higher management in Disney and everything. And he came into his office one day and it's stripped bare. Only thing left is his desk and his art supplies.
Oh.
And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "Well, if you're going to go down there and work with them, then you're not going to have the perks of being a lead animator."
Who is this animator?
I cannot remember who it is, and if I can find out, I've watched so many different documentaries and interviews and stuff. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but if I find it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, poor guy. He was talking about it. And he was almost in tears. Like, it was upsetting.
Yeah. Being kind.
Yeah.
Well, the industry could be quite harsh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially now, what is happening with Disney and all the overtime that people have to work and basically earn just a little bit. And I've been watching some stuff on YouTube, and it's I don't call it slavery because they are being paid, but it's very, very stressful for what I've heard, and it really burned people's out. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, because you're pressured to work and get, a carpal tunnel syndrome is very common.
Oh yeah, it's a real thing.
Oh yeah. Glenn said Kirby was an in-betweener for Mike Fleischer on Popeye.
Yeah.
He left to do other things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I completely see Kirby as a Popeye animator.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. They kind of had Popeye's personality.
That's what I was thinking.
Like you just as soon whoop your ass as put up with any of your shit.
Well, that was a very Fleischer Fleischer is a very, very urban sensitivity. I mean, that's all New York,
Right.
because that all came out of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
The Fleischer studio.
Ah.
I mean, they were. Look at those early sound Fleischer cartoons, and you've got jazz. You've got, because what they would go down to Harlem or up to Harlem and hire, Cab Calloway, all of those jazzy guys, and they would do films with them. So there's a very different rawness to it.
Mm.
And the Popeye cartoons are very raw in the attitudes, the early ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he was a tough son of a bitch. You know. Well, one of my favorites was what Popeye and the 40 Thieves.
Yeah, Alibaba and the 40. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you used to have like when VHS was it'd been out for a while. You used to have these VHS collections that would come out.
Yep.
Like you had the was it Fleischer that did the Gulliver's Travels?
Yes.
I love that
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
I used to
I
watch it
remember that
over and
one.
over again. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
that is
yeah.
the definitive Gulliver's Travels to me. And it's only like one part of it. Because the little character that was in there, Gabby.
Yep. Yeah, I like that character.
Cartoons. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think they tried doing a series with Gabby.
Yeah, there was a couple of. I remember at least one other cartoon with him. They were Lilliputans, I think is the name of it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say my favorite, besides the early Popeyes, are the early Superman cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, they really did. I mean, it's of a time and an attitude, and there is a particular kind of style of squash and stretch that Fleischer did. He did. He drew cartoons. That was all. It was all cartoons, and even the Superman is a cartoon. Some of the stuff that you stop frame them, and it's like really raw, cartoony, manipulation of the human form. Now, I know that people are going to be screaming at me for saying this, but I know that the Batman animation of in the 1990s and mid 90s or whatever,
Bruce Timm,
I know that they were trying to emulate. They emulated an attitude within, like say stylistically trying to do, but they don't have the plasticity because those cartoons were done overseas. In terms of the overall, the actual mechanics, the storyboarding and the design and all that was done here in the States.
Right.
I mean, I knew, what's his name? Tim.
Bruce Timm?
Bruce Timm, yes. Bruce Timm was started out at Bluth's. He was in my room when we were doing Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
So he was a young guy in there, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was one of the older guys there. I mean, today, it's like back then, there was still a lot of not too many young animators. They were just starting to, come into the industry. So I was I think he was in his early or rather mid to late 20s, and I was about 34, 34 years old.
Oh, cool.
So, John, when you worked for Bluth, where was that? What part of the country was that?
But that's California.
Was it California?
That was Hollywood.
Okay.
That was Studio City.
Okay.
Sherman Oaks. So that's that's where we were. That's where the studio was, and so we were part of the Hollywood scene.
Yeah. Was that close to, what was it, Encino or
No, that was Sherman Oaks. I was in in the valley.
Yeah, I figured that's kind of the is that like the animation hubbub at that time, or?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Hanna-Barbera, Disney was on the ropes at the time. They were thinking about just shutting down animation.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah. It wasn't until they did one last film. It was The Great Mouse Detective.
Mm-hmm.
That's when
right.
people they said, well, maybe we could do something with this, because they had the debacle of the Black Hole. Oh no, the Black Cauldron.
The Black Cauldron, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah. Well, what had happened was that Bluth had pulled all of his. He walked out and he took half of the animation staff with him. That they went to do, Secret of Nim.
Mm-hmm.
Was that at the same time that they ended up getting not Eisner?
Yeah, well, that was Eisner
Katzenberg.
and Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Yes.
They came together. They were live action people. They didn't have any idea of what to do with animation.
Right.
In fact, Jeffrey the first time he saw rushes for animation, because they put Jeffrey in charge of the animation department,
which was ridiculous, but yeah.
They were live action people. The first thing, he was looking at animation and the pencil tests and color and whatnot, and he said, "Okay, well, let's see. What have you got from the other camera angles?"
You did.
No,
yeah,
man.
I heard about that.
And he said,
right.
He had no idea, and that's what happens with management. They have no idea.
The only thing Katzenberg did that helped Disney was bring in Howard, not Shore. I can't remember his last name, but he was the lyricist that did the lyrics for Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin. That was about it. And even he had problems with Katzenberg, even after Katzenberg brought him in. I don't have much for Katzenberg. The amount of stuff I read was just about him, or rather, what's crazy about it is he kept coming up in certain things that I was like, if looking up Jim Henson or Disney, he kept coming up, and it was usually as a loggerhead, as this just a-hole to the creative process, oblivious to understanding it. So. I mean, I guess there's some kind of from what I've read, what can I say? I don't know enough. I think he's DreamWorks now.
Well, DreamWorks, he sold. I mean, Katzenberg sold DreamWorks. They broke that up a long while ago.
Oh, okay. And then it became successful. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, DreamWorks. DreamWorks.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
But DreamWorks, what?
Go ahead, John.
No. Anyway, Katzenberg. I mean, Katzenberg was really instrumental in really putting the kibosh on 2D animation. Because after seeing how with Toy Story and how well that was doing, and then when they did Shrek, they said, that's it, no more 2D. So,
which is incredibly disappointing, because there's a market for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you have to have stories. That's the problem, is that you don't use 2D animation just to try and recapture the past.
Yeah.
And that's what so many people try to do. Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge problem today in Hollywood, is the lack of originality. Mm-hmm. Everything's a remake.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Well,
sometimes
they're
it's
just
delayed.
reworking everything. They're just reworking and the old material.
Yeah.
Right.
You would think that today you could still do a 2D, a traditionally done animated film, the thing with the spirit.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
I know
there's
they're trying to mix the two together, and sometimes and it works. It definitely works better than what they were doing, because if you go back and you watch, I was never a Toy Story fan.
Mhm.
Period. It came out when I think I was a teenager when it came out anyway. But I was never a Toy Story fan, but it always looked like garbage to me. And now when you go back and look at it at the CGI on it now, it still doesn't look any better. It might even be worse.
Yes. Well, the craft of drawing is huge, and there is such a difference between using reference of live action to help you understand things, which is what Disney did all the time, but understanding how something could move, or you could do something and see how that works, and then translating that into animation, but with the artist's take on it, interpretation of it. It's a very different thing than just slavishly following motion capture.
Yeah,
It's a difference between using reference. I mean, let's put it this way: Milt Caniff, when he's doing who was doing Steve Canyon, Terry and the Pirates, he would just shoot models and whatnot, and then he would go and do his interpretation with his for his camera panels and camera angles.
right. Yeah,
And then, there's nothing wrong with that. That helps you, but to just have sitting down and taking the pencil and the creativity away from the artist, all you're doing is really killing the ability to create.
Yeah, you're stifling the creative process.
Something Ralph Bakshi, The Lord of the Rings.
I was thinking the same thing.
With all
This is
due
basic
respect,
rotoscoping,
because
Oh yeah, well
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
he wrote
Just
a
rotoscope.
all over the place. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I love it.
He rotoscoped all over the place. I mean, Don Bluth copied all kinds of stuff. He was not very big on being original. I mean, I'm looking from the point of view and he would make you try and copy and be inspired by a Disney cartoon. Well, come on.
Yeah,
He
that
did a
might
lot
have
of
been to his
rotoscoping
detriment
himself.
later on.
Pardon?
So that
Yeah.
might have been to his detriment later on.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting, how when you're drawing teeth,
Yeah.
if you draw like a full mouthful of teeth and you draw every individual tooth,
Yeah.
every line of the individual tooth, it looks
Yep.
weird. It doesn't look right. I think that's what happened. I say that like for instance, Woody's hair on Toy Story. Oh, every strand was carefully placed in there. It's like, of course, that's the problem. You have so much detail that you're taking away from the overall energy of it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's just flat. It's very flat.
Well, when you're doing it, it really depends on what you're trying to get across. For example, here in this part of it, I just messed up a little bit here. I just put a pencil there. Anyway, my finger around here, Woody is got. I'm showing his teeth because he's really angry. I want to see the bite.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and that's something that you do. But you do it purposefully. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't
Right.
do it just for the heck of it. You know, and as a style thing, and so
Yeah, it's a technique, dude.
yeah,
Right.
a lot of times it's knowing what to show and what not to show, and that is a challenge when you're working with computer generated puppetry, because
Yes.
you always have to you know, you're there with the puppet. That's what you got,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And as long as you have that, you know, that those elements, you have to move them no matter what. You know, with stop motion, you have different types of heads and bodies and faces that you can interchange. So you do have the chance to change that. But in computer generated imagery, you have to have your own, you know, set of puppets and whatnot. But within the scene, you know, you're stuck with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm
Problem
when I'm
with
thinking of
3D
that.
animation. Oh,
Pardon?
No, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
So
I'm just
a
keeping
big
the
problem
conversation
with
alive.
oh yeah, no, a big problem with 3D animation I find is that they underestimate and overestimate the fluidity of a 3D model. Where with Toy Story 1, they allowed for a lot of movement in the character, same for Shrek, but which in Toy Story 2 they dialed back because they were using Toy Story as a technical marvel more than Shrek, where in Shrek 2 they actually dialed up the cartoony abilities of the characters, of the models, where it feels a lot more fluid. And also, yeah, just watch Shrek 2. It's the best one. But yeah, like it's
Well, they did
yeah,
that new
yeah.
Puss in Boots movie that came out. Is they did a
Oh, it's so
mixture.
good. I
Yeah,
went to it
it really
Tuesday.
is. Huh? You watched? Yeah, it's really good. It is. It's really good.
Oh
And what
yeah.
they did is they mixed that with traditional animation, so it becomes its own
Yes.
thing.
Mhm.
And
Actually,
I
they
saw.
didn't. It's all 3D. It is
Oh,
all
really?
3D. And the reason I know is because if you've watched the most recent Dragon Ball movie, you will find that they use exactly the same um, techniques. So they are dialing. So all the battles are in 3s and 4s, and all the normal scenes are in 1s and 2s, which makes it feel like an anime. Like they really, really pulled down the amount of effort in every frame to make every frame count more.
I assume they were just kind of doing
And
that
yes,
same
this
technique that the Spider-Verse one did.
yeah, yeah. But if you take a look at the current Puss in Boots movie and then compare it to the latest Dragon Ball movies, last 2 or 3, you will find that they have a lot of similarities in the animation. In a good way. In a good way. Both of them are very good. I really enjoyed both of them. But where Puss in Boots is has to feel 3D and makes itself feel 2D for the fight scenes, Dragon Ball Z does the opposite. So all the scenes that are quiet feel 2D, and then all the scenes that are busy and fighting, they go full 3D, and it feels more spacious. And they both get the same effect across of the fight scenes feeling much more alive because of it, but they do it in exactly the opposite way, and it absolutely fascinates me.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. They wasn't there some influence from Attack on Titan?
Oh yeah,
With the-
totally. I
fight
totally
scenes?
saw
Yeah.
that in there. Oh yeah, no, Attack on
But
Titan, like Cyborg 009, the Dragon Ball Z movies, a lot of it actually. It's a lot of modern anime.
I don't know
funny to
if
think
it's
of-
my eyes, but I realize I noticed that in the new multiverse, the Spider-Man verse, whatever the name is, looks like some movements are missing there. I don't understand. I don't know if it's my eyes or my brain is not processing well, but looks like there are some frames missing. I don't know. Does it look natural the way they move? I don't know. I don't know how to explain that.
It might
I
be
don't know if you
intentional.
have.
It might be intentional.
Yeah.
It's kind of called guerrilla shooting. That was real popular back in the 90s. Just kind of a street style of filming things. So that might actually be intentional.
Yeah.
Kind of give it
It's
a
weird.
choppy
Never
look.
seen.
Yeah, it kind of gives it a choppy look.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually the same thing that you see in the Puss in Boots movie, where the movements are very jittery to further convey the action. So
I
yes,
can't
there
see
are
that.
frames
I
missing.
can't-
Yeah,
I-
like there
I
are
can't
frames
see it.
missing.
It bothers me a lot.
Oh, I understand. If you're not used to it and you don't, it can feel lazy if not done really well, and very intentional and very deliberate and very thoughtfully.
Yeah, Allison says
and it
that was
probably just-
intentional in this Spider-Verse movie. There in the
I'm not
comments.
surprised.
Okay. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can't watch it.
I
But I think what
liked
Marv
it.
is saying, no, but well, see, the thing about the difference is Marv is talking about the trailer for the new one, right, Marv?
Yes, I haven't
Yeah,
seen the movie, the
and
second
it's
one.
still a little bit different than
okay.
what you actually had in the movie,
Okay.
the original movie.
Oh, okay. I have no idea. I didn't watch any of those, but I figure it's kind of like the same vein as what I was talking about earlier.
Well, no, and it might be, in that sense is what they're doing. But I think it comes out a little more choppy and it feels unfinished. As I think was Marv, as opposed to with the Puss in Boots movie, you had it was a separation in that. The action, and it might help when you see regular action versus that, because remember the Puss in Boots movie, you had the fluent movement, but when you got into the fight scenes, then it became choppy and kind of, just hitting over and over.
There was a separation,
Yeah.
and you need that separation, unless you want the whole movie to feel in a certain speed.
Right.
Whether you're using 2D or 3D animation, like there's a reason people use 2s and 3s and 4s instead of just 1s all the time, for that exact reason, because it feels differently. It moves differently, and your mind captures things differently. But if you don't pay attention and don't do things deliberately and just keep everything in 2s or 3s or 4s, depending what you felt like, it's going to have a certain static, constant feel to the entire thing.
Right.
Well, sometimes when just using 3s and 4. I mean, even within a scene. For example, being able to have characters in the background, working on 3s and 4s. Depends on how slow they're going to be moving. And with say in Pinocchio, where there's a lot of fish, with Monstro, with all that's going on. Some levels were shot on 1s, some on 2s, some on 3s, and some on 4s, and it varied, but all in the same scene. It was a very difficult. Some of those scenes are enormously difficult to shoot because you've got levels that are on 2s and 3s. And the planning that went on to that was enormous. But you get the effect of not this. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of stuff happening that instead of it all just being the same flow. That's the craft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We went full circle. There we go.
There you go.
I think also what helps, like Puss in Boots too, is the design aspect in a sense.
Oh yeah.
Because they like you were saying about Shrek 2 having a little more cartoonish view. The character designs in Puss were a lot more leaning on that cartoonish. With Goldilocks and the Three Bears and everything. And that was one thing that kind of bothered me about Shrek was, and I don't dislike Shrek, but what bothered me about Shrek was it tried to be very realistic in some sense. It was kind of like a classical book or what have you. And I think it was trying to.
Yeah.
There was a style it was keeping.
Well, the Shrek books are completely different from what they generated for the show.
Oh, yes, that's for sure.
For the movie, completely different.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen them.
They're very minimalistic in their drawing.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you want to know more about that, actually, look up John Solo, because he does histories of IPs. So the original story behind Shrek or Snow White or even Japanese folklore, stuff like that. It's really interesting, and I love looking at it because he really makes it interesting, and he does his research. So I can highly suggest go watch John Solo here on YouTube. He makes really cool stuff.
SOLO?
Yeah. JON. Yes, SOLO.
Han, another.
Yeah.
Hans. Because I have to make that correction because you're going to have somebody on Star Wars. It's Han, not Hans. So.
This is my German nephew. Yeah, ich bin Han Solo. Jawohl.
Speaking of that, funny story. When we first started doing conventions, and Tina knew nothing about comics or pop culture when we first met and started doing this, we would be at shows, and if I got up to go to use the bathroom, she was terrified because inevitably some Star Wars person would come up and want to buy some sketch cards, and they would say, I want the clone trooper, and she would pick up the wrong card because she didn't know who was who. And she would call it a stormtrooper. And then they would just light her up. They're like, "No, that's not a stormtrooper. That's a clone trooper." And she would like, "You're not allowed to leave the table anymore." I can't take these people correcting me over these character names.
I did not even know that there was such a thing as they were called clone troopers.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's a distinct difference between a stormtrooper and a clone trooper.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea what it is. I do not care.
Exactly.
Right. I know. I mean, I get it because I can see the differences because the clone. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Okay, so I can see the difference because the clone trooper helmets and style of uniform are completely different than the conventional stormtrooper.
Right.
White and everything. I get
and
that.
the clones were clones. Stormtroopers were humans. So you want to get into that whole aspect of it.
Yeah,
too.
explain this to me because really, they made it out to say like the stormtroopers were. Because she even makes the statement, "Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Which makes it sound like they were clones, but the stormtroopers weren't clones.
Right. But I think they had probably had some type of a height requirement.
Well, okay.
Yeah, one size fits all.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm wondering, is that a George Lucas thing or was that a Disney Star Wars thing where they weren't clones anymore?
No, that was him.
Huh.
Because if you noticed, and this is not really something that I picked up on until much later on, in the prequels, the clone troopers fired with much more accuracy. And in the original trilogy, the stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny because when Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi stumble across the sand crawler in Tatooine, which has been destroyed by the stormtroopers, Obi-Wan says only Imperial stormtroopers can fire with such accuracy. And I was like, what troopers are you talking about?
Compared to who?
Yeah. You talking about the same people that can't hit Han and Chewie running down a bare hallway?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's be honest. Lucas probably leaned into the joke, right? I mean, that's probably where they came from, where everybody was talking about stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So he's like, "Oh, well, there's a difference, you know."
Yeah.
So here's the difference.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and you can see that in several of his interviews. You know, they're like, these were adventures made for children.
Yeah.
You all turned it into what you turned it into.
He was doing Flash Gordon.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you look at from the music, from the crawl. You know, I mean, it is basically from Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe. That serial,
and he's said as much.
Yep.
Originally, going back to the original trilogy when it was first released, the stormtroopers were clones. George retconned it years later. And she said that is incorrect. The stormtroopers couldn't hit characters with plot immunity. Right? So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't kept up with it. I have no idea. But the thing about it is, maybe in the original trilogy, and Dawn Doolin says, I think they were clones until episode 7, which is why Finn had a conscience. But if you go and you watch Solo, weren't they? The stormtroopers in that were human, weren't they? Are we pretending like Solo doesn't exist? I mean, we might be now. There's no idea how that goes.
I honestly don't remember. I saw it at the movies once and haven't seen it since.
And I have to really say, I still think Star Wars is it's 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah. I'm with you.
So it was 4, 5, and 6, and a whole bunch of books.
Yeah. Oh, and a little section in on TV.
Yeah, that one
A
section.
real small section from '78.
Not
Huh?
even the whole, not even the whole special. Just one part.
No. Yeah, there's 9 minutes somewhere in the middle there. Hey, without that, there is no Boba Fett.
That is true.
And if only they stopped Boba Fett with Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi, would be much better off.
Yeah,
because he'd still be a bad person.
Well, what I really got my understanding is that he survived by shooting by blasting through, the worm. I'm sorry, it just didn't work out.
Starlight.
Yeah.
There was an extended universe book years and years ago called I think it was Tales from Tatooine or I can't remember if it was Tales from Tatooine or Tales from Mos Eisley. There's two different ones, and where they told the story of how Boba Fett climbed out of the Sarlacc pit. Of course, it didn't have the little tentacles or whatever that it has now in the special edition. When we were younger, I do remember seeing Return of the Jedi in the movie theater. No matter how young I was, the pit didn't have I don't know. It did have like a tentacle, but it didn't have like the plant.
No.
It didn't look like Audrey 2, right?
No.
Yeah.
And I just remember I was a kid when I saw that. God, I think it was maybe 13, 14.
Yeah.
And how disappointed I was that he was taken out so easily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's it was almost comically.
Yeah.
It was. I was
they added
expecting a burp.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, where? I was like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me he took his eyes off?
That doesn't make. I mean, falling into that pit just it made me went, oh jeez. Don't you know what to do with the character?
Well, and it that's where the steady decline began. When Boba Fett fell into the Sarlacc pit so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and see, that depends on how old you are. The way you
True.
think about that.
True.
Because if you're older than 1980, you hate the Ewoks. If you were born after 1980, you're an Ewok fan.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the Ewoks because I remember sitting in the theater going, and this is when I first realized about the marketing aspect of a movie, of a franchise. And I thought to myself, this is just a marketing ploy to sell more stuffed animals.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking when I, seeing episode, Return of the Jedi. I went, oh jeez, please.
Yeah.
I mean.
And it's funny
I know
because
what the children want for Christmas.
You listen to interviews with George Lucas pre-Star Wars and just after Star Wars, and I'm talking episode 4, and he's all about independent filmmaking and doing your own thing, and somewhere between the end of Star Wars and the beginning of Jedi, he was beat up and molded into the Hollywood George Lucas, and
he became friends with Steven Spielberg.
And then the whole what really cemented the kind of the death of Star Wars for me was the whole Han shot first incident, and that really pissed me off because it was him cowing down to political correctness, and I did not like that at all. Because Han Solo was a ruffian. He was who he was, and it's trying to retcon him into being this, this person.
This hero.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's not what he was. He was a ruffian. He was a drug smuggler. Let's be honest.
Right.
So I would love for.
But he was not a nerf herder.
I would
not
like for like Quentin Tarantino or somebody like that to do a Star Wars trilogy and have it be an adult, realistic Star Wars trilogy. I would love
Which is
that.
what it was supposed to kind of be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he marketed it right, but those first two Star Wars weren't. I hate to say kid friendly because that's not a problem that came until the 80s for that much. But they weren't really kid friendly. I mean, after all, for instance, getting the arm chopped off, you had blood, and they stopped doing that. Now they made it to where it was when it was cauterized, right, by the lightsaber.
Yeah.
I don't remember if they took the blood out of A New Hope or not because I don't watch the special editions. I still have my mother still has at her house the original VHS.
Oh, I still got them too.
I can still watch Han shoot first.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have them. I just need a VCR that works.
Yeah, no, there's the issue, right? That's the rub.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Like I can't even watch Return of the Jedi. Like somebody brought up Return of the Jedi, and now Return of the Jedi has this huge musical number. And it's like, why? It was perfectly fine the way it was. Why do we have a musical number now? That doesn't even make sense. Don says the special editions released in the late 90s were such up and down. I like they cleaned up some of the special effects, but hate it when they flat out change stuff.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Because there was some stuff that needed, fixed. And then the couple of little things that they added, like the little creatures in the sand on Tatooine when they approached.
Yes.
That was all fine, But when they go in and they do the whole Han shot, Greedo shot first, all that bullshit. It was just like, really.
It's very much like, oh well, I gotta go and rework this, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
leave it alone.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see going in and fixing stuff just to update it as far as effects go, but recounting stuff because of political climate changes, no. Leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
I like Allison makes a statement when we were talking about the Ewoks. She said, I wish they left them as Wookiees.
Yeah,
I've tried to explain to somebody one time, if you look at the word Wookiee, it's almost like, it's not pig Latin, but you just took the last vowel and you put it at the front and they're Ewoks, right?
Yeah.
But I think the story was that was kind of the loose plan, was you had the planet with the Wookiees, Endor, I think it is. It was a moon on Endor, right?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
The Wookiee planet was Kashyyyk or something like that, and he wanted to film that. There was a big Wookiee battle that he originally wrote for the first trilogy, but they couldn't afford to shoot that scene, so it eventually became the Ewok battle on Endor.
Right. Well, I heard that's what, and that was why he put Chewie in at the beginning. That's how come, from what I understand, that's how Chewie became how he was as being Han Solo's, right hand, because he liked the Wookiees so much he wanted to make sure that they made it in.
Yeah,
one way or another.
It's so interesting whenever we go on a Star Wars tangent. Like, it could really take up a whole episode.
Yeah.
Because there's such varying and passionate opinions about many
look at
aspects of the trilogy.
They were escaped slaves who were working on the second Death Star. He changed them to Ewoks. Dawn says, I can't type or think fast enough for this conversation.
Now, you see, here's the thing. I mean, having worked on, the second piece of let's say the creative aspect to the Star Wars, a whole I don't know, universe. You know, we were just making it up as we went along. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a brand. It just kind of evolved, and basically, it. You know, when we were doing the cartoon, we said all we had was Star Wars. That was it. So it was like a brand new place that we could play in and do stuff, and we didn't have a whole Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it was just stormtroopers were stormtroopers. For all I knew, they were just guys in uniform, in helmets. I mean, basically, that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, and Boba Fett was, they took a stormtrooper uniform and just played around with that. So, yeah.
That was what he did. That was, I think, one of the staying powers behind Star Wars was that he invited people to come and play in that sandbox, right?
Yeah.
And people were just adding stuff, and that's how you got the Thrawn trilogy. That's how you got a lot of things. The only thing you couldn't touch was Yoda. You could touch anything else, but you couldn't touch Yoda for whatever reason. Hence why we don't know where Yoda came from. I don't know if they've ever decided to make that. But
well, I just saw. Speaking of that, and Dawn, you must. I need pictures now. I just read your latest comment. I need pictures. I just saw a video with Lucas where he was talking about, and it was an older video. He doesn't know where Yoda comes from. And he stated that he never wants to really say because he doesn't know, and he likes the aspect that nobody really knows.
Right.
It's Frank Oz, for crying out loud. It was Jim Henson.
Right.
Oh yes, it was.
That's where Yoda came from.
That's where, yeah. It's really
and the sad fact of it is that both Lucasfilm and Jim Henson are now part of Disney's
Empire.
Yes, the Empire, the evil Empire.
Yeah, Alice is right. It was supposed to be Henson. Henson was very busy at the time and thought that Oz would probably would make a better. See, but he was filming the Muppet movie. That's right. Thanks, Allison. Yeah. But all that research I just did just went down the drain. But okay, because just kidding. But I thought this was interesting, and I have to think that this is true, regardless. The thought that there was an overall plot to the original trilogy is an urban legend. It was made as one movie that he later developed into a trilogy.
I don't know. That's not. I don't know that that's accurate because the original script for Star Wars was a 9-act play. Yeah, he wrote the entire thing out, and Star Wars. He made Star Wars with the hope that it would make enough money to where he could continue doing it. That's why he started in the middle, because he wasn't sure he was ever going to get to tell episodes 1, 2, or 3, and 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, 9. He wrote the entire thing out. It was an entire play of 3 acts.
I don't. Okay, I'm going to say this much. I don't think he wrote the first 3, the Darth Vader one, because he had made the statement before. When you go back and you watch when they released the THX version of Star Wars and his interviews that he has with what was that guy? Leonard Moulton? Whatever.
Yeah, Leonard Moulton.
Yeah. That he said he was writing them as they were speaking.
Oh, okay.
But I think what it is possible, in which I think what she's saying here is those first three trilogies were going to be one movie, but he had to take an aspect out and make one movie out of it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't think that when they did Star Wars, you see that episode, you see how that film works. It goes from beginning to end. It is a self-contained movie. Episode 4 is self-contained.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need episodes, any of the other episodes, to say this is the beginning, middle, and end to it.
Right, and again, that was intentional because they didn't know how it was going to do.
Right.
if they knew
now
going
you
in
have
that they had
you have the scripts for story beats and ideas and whatnot for episodes. The Empire Strikes Back, which I think is the best of them all. And then you wind up having to complete that. Add the episode 6. And so you had to complete that up. But to me, it was starting to peter out with episode 6.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed with it.
I think he opened up the universe enough that you could have, in my personal opinion, I think that you could move on from Skywalker. And you can. You look at Mandalorian. You can move on from Skywalker and all of that. I honestly think you can move away from the Jedis too, and explore different aspects of that, and it could still be Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
that's how I feel. I would have liked to have seen that. I'm kind of tired of Skywalker, to be honest with you. if it's from Anakin to Luke to even Ren. Anyway, let's go ahead and end this program now before I get any.
Oh wow! That last 20 minutes went really quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's start with you, Rodney.
The Star Wars. Hey everybody, I'm Rodney Fyke. You can find me at Rodney Fyke Art on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. Also, the Hasm YouTube channel, or you can go to hasm.com. That's HAZZUM.com, and check out all of our books, such as Peanut Pudding and Jelly, Unchained, Pitter Patter, Roadkill Rampage, and soon coming to a Kickstarter near you, February 21st, Doghouse. You can also find me on the Indie Comics Network Mondays at 3 p.m. for Fyke It, Let's Draw, and on Thursday night Throwdown, 8 p.m. on Thursday nights, as well as Dispatches on Tuesdays at 9 p.m.
Yeah. Awesome.
Dispatches outside the box. I'm sorry.
Maybe we'll see about that.
Yeah, for now.
For now, maybe not even for now. We'll talk about that later. John, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Well, you'll find me here on Sketchy Saturdays, and also the Devil's in the Details on Tuesdays at 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, where I get a little more racy with my stuff. Anyway, but it's going to be the Devil's in the Details, and I get into the nitty-gritty of how to create some mature material. But you can get my comics at John Celestri Comics at .square.site, where I've got a whole bunch of, I've got some Boba Fett sketches, I've got my Bloodwing Angel Chronicles books, my Snuffy and Zoe, and Toy Box Adventures, and Mega Moose Comics. So you'll see the whole range of what I can do. And I'll be here next week, and maybe I'll be quiet.
Oh, no, don't be quiet. We don't want that.
No, please don't.
No, we have to have these conversations. MarV and his fabulous work. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, you can find me here every Saturday. Hopefully next week I will have a better setup, whatever, because this time I wasn't able to listen almost at all of what you were saying. I just had to have my ear near to the tablet. But hopefully I'll find out what is happening, and next week it will be better. So you can find me on Instagram, MarV Scene Killer, and here on Sketchy Saturday every Saturday. So have a great week, everybody. Thank you.
Right. And of course, Mike.
Hey everyone. You can find me and all my work and this story, which is a new Lava Korra story that I made last weekend with my wonderful girlfriend. Over on Kickstarter. We have 10 days left. We're funded. We're ready to go. And yeah, you're going to get 6 complete stories. So be sure to hit them up and get yourself a limited edition hardcover. And other than that, yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right. And of course, thank you for fishing with me. And no, I did not catch any of these, by the way, Rodney. This is all reference. Oh, my gosh, I wouldn't even know what to do with a fish that big. Anyway, it reminds me of Garfish.
Oh, my.
Oh, golly. Anyway, of
Very
course, I'm C.
cool.
Michael Lanning. You can check me anything out. My Facebook, Twitter, which I'm never on, Instagram, and all that. My portfolio over on Linktree/C. Michael Lanning. And I will definitely be here next week with Sketchy Saturday. So come and check that out. And make sure that you not only like, subscribe, tell other people about the Indie Comics Network and even that other degenerate comics network, Indie Comics Network, After Hours. But we don't like to talk about that up here.
Yeah.
After dark.
Yes.
Whatever,
dark.
after dark, whatever. See?
Ah,
Take care.
okay.
All right.
Take care, Luffy.